I have a number of problems with MLK Day, in the many ways that we employ his legacy in order to accomplish our own needs. But if we must celebrate King, we need to consider how we are honoring him, not only in theory, but also in practice. We need to consider the bloody price that Dr. King paid for progress as well. King was not alone in his dream for a better tomorrow, but yet we utilize him as if he was the most vocal. Today we celebrate one man, but we must not forget those who fought with King on the front lines. We must also speak their stories into existence. We cannot be silent. How many black and brown bodies must be broken? I needed answers. In these moments, I stumbled upon a quote by Dr. King. In his Beyond Vietnam speech, he writes, "The greatest purveyor of violence in the world, my own government, I cannot be silent. I cannot be silent." This brought me back to Dartmouth, and I started to meditate on a series of protests that happened last year. I was reminded of the chanting, the singing, the refusal to not be silent. Despite my quiet and reserved demeanor, I embraced the pervasive ideology that activism must be vocal, expansive, and loud.
As someone who grew up not needing to question how I, or later my children, might be treated under the law, I bring one set of experiences to this discussion. Yet I've lived too long and I've seen too much to believe that my experience is the experience of all Americans. It certainly is not. And sadly, this is not the first time in our history that we pondered these questions. But this is a deeply unsettling moment, as the events of recent months have been accompanied by loss of life, with fractures in our unity being brought into greater relief than we have seen in many years. Success requires big ideas, often debated outside the limelight, away from the public view. But Dr. King reminded us of the importance of deep intellectual engagement with these issues when he said, "Rarely do you find those who engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions." And he would go on to add the now famous quote, "Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will." It's a privilege to be here this evening, to participate in this discussion, and to join all of you as we search together for better understanding. Thank you.
The net worth average of a black household in the U.S. is $6,314 compared to, finish the sentence. The black-white income gap is 40% greater today than it was in 1967. And there are people in the black community that now question, can we ever afford to have a black president again? Because what has happened in our community as a result. Look at the numbers. A black boy born today in the U.S. has the life expectancy 5 years shorter than that of a white boy. Because quite frankly, in the world of globalization, in the world where minorities and women are increasing in great numbers, we can't afford to look like this. We just can't. We're going to be the buggy whip. The little white school in the White Mountains is going to have a very poor existence. Leaders are visionaries. Nobody did it better than Martin Luther King. That I Dream Vision speech is just golden. Do you know he talked about New Hampshire in that speech? The images that he created, the way the world should be, his dream. What does Derek Bell say about courage? Contrary to Shakespeare's Caesar, courage is not a quality you have or don't have. Nobody is born courageous. Nobody has courage all the time, and nobody who has not yet been courageous lacks the possibility of choosing it in the future. Courage is a decision you make to act in a way that works through your own fear for the greater good, as opposed to pure self-interest. It is a daily decision to wake up and do the right thing, no matter how big the reward or how great the fear. The change that we are about to embark on, that we must embark on, the change that we have started to embark on, requires all of us to have tremendous courage. This is not something we do light at heart. This is something that's going to be challenged. This is something that's going to be questioned. This is something that's going to cause us, when we have true diversity and we have a true vision, the people are going to say, I'm not giving my money to that. Just think about that. The reality of it is that we have to think about how not only we lead, but how we follow, and how we develop our followership. That's critical. And that was so critical for a lesson in the civil rights movement. You learn your leadership chops, responsibility, perseverance, determination, courage, dealing with cold weather. Right? Well, you're all crossed up. You know, come on, unfold. Lord help them. But you learn, you get your leadership chops when things are the hardest. This is the time when you begin to get your leadership chops. Nobody said this was supposed to be easy. So stop whining. Okay? For those of you that do whine, all right? You know, I get people in my office, oh, woe is me. Oh, give me a break. Understand that your leadership chops are developing, and that's going to be hard. That there are no shortcuts. So how do we apply these simple lessons from King to Dartmouth today? And here's when I'm about to get into big trouble. Where are my undergraduates in this room? Can you stand up? Where are they? Where's pups? I call you pups. I'm old. I couldn't wait. Understand that you are the dream deliverers. Understand that, okay? I took advantage. I was able to go through the door. Well, this must be some sorority or some fraternity in here, boy. You guys are looking sharp. I digress. Understand that your job in this is to deliver the dream.